What's up, traders? It's Chris here. While I am recovering from being sick, I recently got the flu and I'm slowly on the mend. I apologize for being out for a few days, and as you can see, I kind of look a little haggard. I wanted to give you a video of one of our last webinars I did before I got sick, which we had a great webinar. We had some exciting topics about how I decide to place a trade, how I handle dealing with losses, and what's my mindset like during specific trading situations. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy these clips from the weekly coaching session we do. We do this every week with our price action course members. It's a fantastic session where we all get to sit together for about a couple hours and we go over trades, charts, questions, answer all the student questions, everything, and really get to have this kind of one-on-one personal time with the students to address their questions and talk with them personally and talk about trades, which we all love doing, and talk about trading, which we also love doing. So please smash the like button for this here. I spent hours and hours editing this here, so I hope you appreciate this video and the clips and everything. And I will see you guys in the next video. I should have something out by this Monday or Tuesday. So have a great weekend, be healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.
Chin Yishuan saying mindset question. Hi, Chris. Hello, Chin. May I ask, what is your thought process when you're deciding to enter a trade, and how do you overcome your fear of losing? Okay, so what is my thought process? So first thing I do is analysis. Turn on my computer. Let's just say charts are up, platforms up, everything's up. I've already done my mental preparation. Let's just say I've already done all that. Okay, what's the first thing I do? The first thing I do is I look at the charts and I read the price action context. I do go through the 3 pillars. And then if there are new setups that I'm wanting to take, I plan that out ahead of time. Okay, well, I like, this with trend setup here. I think there's a potential breakout coming in this. So if it's going to break out, notice the if then there. If it's going to break out, here's how I'm going to trade it. If this breakout fails, then this is what I'll do to do with that. So I do all that in a planning preparation phase. That's all in the preparation phase. So I do analysis first, get the overall context, then I do planning and preparation. And so at that point, I decide when I'm going, where I want to enter, how I want to enter, what I'm going to use. That's all done in the preparation phase. And then at that point, I'm just waiting. I just wait. And if it comes, then what do? I follow the plan that I prepared to do. So this has a massive advantage in terms of planning trades ahead of time, so that when the trade actually does come, I already have this little mental program in place. So the price gets there and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So I get to fall back on a program that I've already created ahead of time. And I did that in a non-stressful state. So I'm activating a program that I did in a non-stressful state. And then when it comes time to execute, my mental thought process is focusing on what I need to execute. What do I need to execute to do this trade? Okay, I need to get position sizing. I need, already have the stop loss and take profit. I need to set the type of order. This is what I need to do. I hit the button. It's all focused on execution. So when I focus on execution, then I'm focusing on exactly what I need to do to execute that trade. This creates less room for doubts, fears, all these things to come in my mind. And it's more focused on the task and the process and what I need to execute, and not what are my thoughts, emotions, or anything that worried about that. I've been doing this so long. That whole fear of taking a loss, that's just not really there. I don't have that fear of a loss because I've done thousands of trades. I've won thousands of trades. I've lost thousands of trades. That whole fear of a loss is gone pretty much 95 to 99% of the time, because I've accepted the risk ahead of time. I've accepted variance ahead of time. I've accepted that losing's part of the game. I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable, which is something you have to get with in trading. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable to make trading work. And let's just say I'm in that 5% where all of a sudden my emotions are coming up. Well, then what do? I apply a method. This is like standard trading 101. It's also standard Buddhism 101. When you run into a situation where your mind is starting to go off, you apply a method. You apply a method to get your body in a good state, to get your mind in a good state. And then once that's done, I go back to my program. Hey, this is the trade setup I want to do. Here's how I'm going to execute it. I focus my mental thoughts on what I got to execute, and then I execute. In an untrained mind, fear of loss can be paralyzing. It can dominate and take over everything that you're doing. And if that's happening, then that means you're not in your prefrontal cortex. That means you're in the emotional level of your brain. So you're no longer in the thinking, analytical, calm part of your brain. You're in the emotional brain, which is the second brain down. That brain runs more on emotions. It has less IQ available, has less analytical skill available. And if I'm in that state, then generally I don't want to be trading. And so what do I want to do? I want to get my mind and body in a state so I'm out of the emotional brain and back into the thinking, calm, prefrontal cortex part of the brain. If you find yourself getting into where those emotions are paralyzing, then you need to start applying methods to regulate your state so you're not in that. As you do that enough times, and you have to do that in real time. If you don't do it in real time, well then let's say, beginning of potential trade setup, emotion comes, I'm going through the time cycle, emotion comes, and then it starts paralyzing my thing. So the emotion comes here. The closer I get to applying a method to the emotion arising, the better I get at regulating the emotion in real time. If I don't realize that the emotion is paralyzing me in real time, well, then the awareness is going to come after the emotion does that, right? So then I apply a method there. And the goal is to eventually apply the method closer and closer and closer, continually do that until you're getting to it in real time. And then it's no longer the emotion that's kind of the driving force of what's happening. It's the emotion is there, but then there's something else available. There's resources available to manage the stress and the emotions so that the emotion isn't dominating what's happening. That's how that process has to go. Eventually, you'll get so good at that you start to see the precursors of the emotion before they become full-blown emotion. Now, when the emotion would normally hit, you're in a much more regulated state. That is what you need to be doing. You need to be applying the methods to do that. Super important. That's how you do that. You do that enough times, it's kind of like a muscle, and eventually that whole fear of a loss goes away. Like when I push the button to hit the trade, I just don't experience those extreme emotions anymore. I don't. It's maybe a few times out of 100, and it's probably because my mind or body's off for whatever reason. But I don't experience those situations where fear of a loss is dominating. And that's just something I've trained over time. It's not something that I had. It's not something that I was just like born with some sort of genetic gift or anything like that. No, it's a muscle that I built over time, and eventually that muscle has become so strong that that fear of a loss just doesn't. Maybe it's like a small little baby wave in the overall context of the ocean of my mind and what I experience. How about your thought process when when your trades hit the stop loss? That's my thought process. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, I probably shouldn't swear. What is it when I hit my stop loss? I hit my stop loss. It's my thought process. It's just like, okay, I have my stop loss. Again, I've done this so many times that I know 100% that over the next 10, 50, 100 trades, I'm going to lose trades. So I know this ahead of time. I know there's no winning in trading without losing. There's no winning in football games without losing. There is no all-winning football team. There is no all-losing football team. There is no all-winning trading strategy. There is no all-losing trading strategy. It doesn't exist. It does not exist. I know this ahead of time. I've done this so many times. So the only thought process that I have at that point is, okay, what can I learn from the trade? Did I execute things correctly? Did I follow my process correctly? Yes. Okay, well, if I did, is there anything I can learn from this and grow from this? If there is, great. If not, move on. If I didn't follow my process and if I didn't execute the way I need to execute, then my thought process is, hey, why didn't I execute what I was supposed to execute? What happened there? Then I investigate that. And then I focus on what do I need to do to make sure I don't repeat that error. It's not like a personal self-referencing thing. And I know, I'm not sitting there going like, oh, I hit my stop loss, you're a bad trader. Like, I mean, imagine that. Let's just say you're 50% accurate. Okay, so next 100 trades, let's just say every one of them is win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. Okay, so I win the next trade and oh, I'm the best trader in the world. And then I lose the next trade. Oh, I suck. And then, I win the next trade and I like puff up again, and then I lose the next trade. Oh, like what kind of existence is that? That up and down, that is not a really good way to navigate through life. The real secret, when you can remain focused and grow, and whether win or loss, that you accept it all. You have to accept it all. You have to accept losing if you want to get really good at winning. Not as in like, oh, I'm a loser, but no, you have to accept that losing's part of the game, and you have to accept that losing is a great learning opportunity. It is a fantastic learning opportunity. If losing is a great learning opportunity, well, then losing is not so bad, is it? Now you're taking the poison and turning it into nectar. The people who are really successful are the ones who take losses and turn that supposed poison and turn it into nectar. They turn it into something that fuels their growth. They turn it into something that helps them, that makes them work harder. When I lose, I just kind of like get more passionate. Like, let's just take trading. Let's something outside of trading. Let's just take business. Running businesses, you have to make multiple decisions, and you have to invest in a lot of things. You go with this marketing firm and this and that and this employee and this contractor and things like that. And trust me, shit's not always going to win. Amazon doesn't always win. They created all kinds of things that completely flopped. The Amazon Fire completely flopped. Amazon auctions completely flopped. They don't sit there and like every time they do something win, they puff up, and every time they lose, no, they lose, and they go, okay, what can we learn from this? How do we get stronger? I lose, and I actually try and take that as an opportunity to get strong. I get more motivated to like become better. So then all of a sudden the losses don't become a problem now, do they? You have to change that mindset. You have to embrace it all. You have to embrace the wins and the losses. You have to embrace, because if you don't, you're setting yourself up for a disaster of a life, because you're going to lose at many things in life. Do you really want to live a life that, okay, every time you win, you puff up, and every time you lose, you like totally deflate? No, that's just like, that's like brutal for your self-image. It's brutal for your emotions, brutal for your body. So you have to embrace it all. There's no, the true path to success is embracing it all. It's not saying I only accept wins and I don't accept losses, or I can't accept failure. Michael Jordan didn't say I didn't accept losses. He said I can't accept not trying. The worst thing you can do is think that a loss is the end of everything, like that losing is like somehow the end. Rarely ever is any individual loss the end. I want you to think about it like this in terms of how important mindset is. The brain is on average producing 60,000 thoughts a day. So that comes out to almost a thought a second. If, let's just take somebody like myself who trades full-time. I also run businesses full-time. Like I'm like full-time. But let's say I have an 8-hour trading session. On a really busy 8-hour trading session, especially an active day trading session, the busiest I could be is probably about 10 trades. Like I could make and close, either make 10 new trades and close 10 new trades, or make 10 new trades and close several of them throughout the day. Okay, so let's take that scenario. How much of that 8-hour trading session is those 10 trades? It's really down to about 2 hours. So if you look at like volatility in terms of FX sessions, there's big volatility spikes when markets open, especially if there's overlap, when there's overlap of two sessions. Then as the session goes on, volatility goes down, middle of the session towards lunch, and then volatility picks up towards the end of the session. Same in a stock market. You look at volume bars, they're up in the open, U-shape in the middle, and then they climb at the end. So that's how volatility works. The majority of any active day trading session I have is going to be in around about 2 hours. So the heaviest decisions I'm going to be in terms of clicking buttons, getting in, getting out of trades, managing positions, taking profit, closing trades out, whatever it is, that's generally going to be 2 hours of that 8 hours. Okay, so 8 hours is 480 minutes. And of the 480 minutes, 120 minutes of that could be high intensity, where I'm making a lot of decisions, okay? So you have a total of, let me bust out the calculator here. You have 480 minutes, and you're talking an average of thought a second, so times that by 60. So during an average trading session, I am having on average about 28,000 thoughts. However, the majority of the execution analysis type is done during a quarter of that. So you're talking, that's 2 hours out of 8. So that's a quarter of that. So you're talking for 6 hours, my mind is just going on having thoughts, and they aren't necessarily execution related. I'm not making any trading decisions. Do you think that the thoughts that are going through your mind during that time period are going to have an effect on when you are executing? Yes. The answer is yes. That's a rhetorical question. The answer is yes. Do you think the thoughts and what's going on in your head during those high energy times, those high activity times matters? Yes, it does. Regardless of whether you're in a high activity session or you're in a non-high activity session, your thoughts matter. Your mindset matters. And your thoughts can generally be of three qualities. They can be of like positive thinking, they can be neutral thinking, or they can be negative thinking. There are certain times where positive thoughts can be highly beneficial. And there are certain times where it's not going to be the most beneficial thing. There's going to be certain times where having neutral thoughts is going to be beneficial. And there are certain times where neutral thinking or neutral thoughts are not going to be beneficial. But I can guarantee you 100% of the time, negative thoughts will not be beneficial. And yet they're going to work on you anyways. What happens in your mind matters. What you think about matters. What happens in high activity time matters, and what happens in low activity times is going to influence high activity times. This is super important. If you want to make money trading, if you want to build your wealth, if you want to become successful with this, you're going to have to change your mindset around money. You have to get your mindset around money right. That's something you have to get right. If you don't get your mindset around money right, you're going to have a hard time building wealth and trading. That kind of bugaboo around wealth and money and everything is always going to influence and penetrate into everything you're doing around trading, because everything you're doing around trading is around money. So you have to get your mindset around money right. You're going to have to get your mindset around success right. Because if you have your mindset around money right, but you have strange ideas around what success actually means in terms of work you have to do or in terms of what it means about you, well, then that's going to affect your performance. That's going to influence your upside. It's going to always put a ceiling on that. So you have to get your mindset around success right. That's something you have to get right. And you have to get your mindset around you right. The mindset around you often has to do with self-image. What is your mindset about you as a person? You're going to have to get that right. And particularly, you're going to have to, one of the people who can learn to manage, tolerate, deal with, and relate to discomfort, those people are going to excel. And if you don't have that skill right now, no problem, you can build that skill. Not only is it worth it, but a lot of people think the price of success is really hard to pay. The price of failure is a bigger one.